I still remember the first time I stepped into the Harrison family mansion. It was a cold December evening in 2012. I was 24 years old, wearing my best dress, a simple blue outfit I had saved 3 months to buy. My name is Clara Bennett, and this is the story of how I went from being called the maid to owning everything the Harrison family once had. But let me start from the beginning. I met Daniel Harrison at a small coffee shop in downtown Chicago. I was working as a waitress, studying nursing at night. My mother had passed away 2 years earlier. My father left when I was 7. I had nothing, no family, no money, just dreams and determination. Daniel walked in one rainy afternoon. He was different from other customers. He didn't look at me like I was invisible. He asked my name. He asked about my book. I was reading a medical textbook during my break. "You want to be a nurse?" he asked. "A doctor, actually," I replied. "Nursing is just the first step." He smiled, not a mocking smile, a genuine one. "I like people who dream big," he said. That was the beginning. Daniel came to the coffee shop every day for 3 months. We talked about everything. His family owned Harrison Construction, one of the biggest construction companies in Illinois. His father had passed away 5 years ago. His mother, Victoria Harrison, now controlled everything. Daniel worked in the company, but he hated it. He wanted to be a teacher. He loved children, but his mother had other plans. "She controls everything," he told me once. "The money, the company, even my life." I should have seen the warning signs, but I was in love. And when you're in love, you see what you want to see. After 6 months of dating, Neil proposed, a small ring, nothing expensive. "I bought this with my own money," he said. "Not family money, mine." I said yes, that was my first mistake, or maybe it was my destiny. December 15th, 2012, Daniel took me to meet his mother. The Harrison mansion was enormous, 23 rooms, a garden bigger than the apartment complex I lived in. Staff members everywhere, cooks, cleaners, drivers. This was old money, generational wealth, and I was a waitress with $200 in my bank account. Victoria Harrison was waiting in the living room. She was 58 years old but looked 45, perfect hair, perfect makeup, designer clothes, cold eyes that scanned me like I was a piece of furniture she was considering buying. "So," she said, not even standing up to greet me, "you're the girl from the coffee shop." Not Daniel's girlfriend, not Clara, the girl from the coffee shop. "Yes, Mrs. Harrison, I'm Clara Bennett. It's nice to meet you." I extended my hand. She looked at it like I had offered her garbage. "Bennett," she repeated. "I had someone look into your family. Your father was a factory worker who abandoned his family. Your mother was a cleaning lady who died of cancer because she couldn't afford proper treatment." Each word was a knife. Daniel squeezed my hand. "Mother, that's enough. I'm simply stating facts," Victoria continued. "I like facts. They help make informed decisions." She finally looked into my eyes. "Tell me, Clara Bennett, daughter of a runaway factory worker and a dead cleaning lady, what exactly do you bring to the Harrison family?" Dinner was torture. Daniel's younger sister, Melissa, was there. She was 22, beautiful and cruel like her mother. "So you're a waitress?" Melissa asked, sipping expensive wine. "How quaint. I'm also studying to become a doctor," I replied calmly. Victoria laughed, actually laughed. "A doctor, darling, medical school costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Do you have that money hidden somewhere between coffee orders?" Melissa giggled. Daniel slammed his hand on the table. "That's enough, both of you." "Daniel," Victoria's voice turned ice cold. "Remember who pays for your apartment, your car, your entire existence." Daniel went quiet, and I understood. This family ran on control. Victoria controlled Daniel with money, and she would try to control me with humiliation. After dinner, as we were leaving, Victoria pulled me aside. Her grip on my arm was strong. "Listen carefully, coffee shop girl. My son is confused. He thinks he loves you, but love fades, money doesn't. This family has a reputation, a legacy. And you, with your dead mother and your runaway father, you don't belong here. You're not his future. You're just entertainment. She released my arm. Enjoy it while it lasts. Daniel and I got married 6 months later. Victoria tried everything to stop it. She threatened to cut Daniel off completely. She offered me $100,000 to disappear. Take this money, she said, sliding a check across her desk. It's more than you'll ever make. Disappear from my son's life and it's yours. I slid it back. Your son is not for sale, and neither am I. Her eye twitched. Nobody refused Victoria Harrison. You'll regret this, she whispered. I'll make sure of it. The wedding was small, just 15 people at City Hall. None of Daniel's family attended. No Harrison money, no mansion, no fancy dress. Just me, Daniel, and a few friends from my work. That night, in our tiny apartment, Daniel held me. I'm sorry about my family, Clara, but I promise I'll protect you, always. I believed him. I shouldn't have. 3 months after our wedding, Victoria's health declined. She was diagnosed with a heart condition. The doctors said she needed family around. Daniel made the decision without even asking me. We're moving into the mansion, Clara. My mother needs me. Daniel, your mother hates me. She literally tried to pay me to leave you. She's sick. She'll change. People change when they face death. People don't change. They just hide their true selves better. We moved into the Harrison mansion in April 2013, and my nightmare began. Victoria hadn't changed. She had just found new ways to torture me. Clara, the floors in the East Wing look dirty. Could you mop them? Mrs. Harrison, we have staff for that. Staff costs money, dear, and you don't contribute any money to this household, do you? The least you can do is help around the house. She made me serve at her dinner parties. Clara, bring more wine for my guests. Clara, the kitchen needs cleaning. Clara, did you iron my clothes properly? There's a wrinkle here. Her friends would whisper and laugh. That's Daniel's wife, the waitress. Victoria is a saint for allowing her to stay. Some people don't know their place. But the worst moment came on Christmas 2013. Victoria had a large gathering, 50 guests, all wealthy, all powerful. Daniel was away on a business trip. I was alone. Victoria called me in front of everyone. Clara, darling, come here. I walked over, wearing a simple dress. Everyone, this is Clara, my son's wife. She said wife like it was a disease. She used to work at a coffee shop. Isn't that fascinating? Now she lives in this mansion, eats our food, spends our money. She turned to me. Clara, be a dear and bring more champagne for my guests. You remember how to serve, don't you, from your waitress days? The room laughed, and then Victoria said the words I'll never forget. She put her hand on my shoulder, smiled sweetly, and announced, let's be honest, everyone. She's just a maid in this house, aren't you, dear? The laughter was deafening. I looked around for one friendly face. There was none. I served champagne that night, and I cried myself to sleep. When Daniel returned, I told him everything. Daniel, your mother humiliated me in front of 50 people. She called me a maid. You have to do something. Daniel sighed. Clara, you know how she is. She's old. She's sick. Just ignore it. Ignore it. She's destroying me every single day. What do you want me to do? Fight with my dying mother? Get cut off from my inheritance? There it was, the inheritance, the money. Daniel had become his mother's puppet. The man who once bought me a ring with his own money now cared more about his mother's fortune than his wife's dignity. Is the money more important than me? I asked quietly. Daniel looked away. That was my answer. I had two choices, leave with nothing and start over, or stay and fight. I chose to fight, but not with anger, with patience, with intelligence, with planning. Victoria Harrison had underestimated the coffee shop girl. That was her biggest mistake. I continued my nursing studies despite everything. Every night after serving Victoria, after cleaning, after being humiliated, I studied. I graduated nursing school in 2014, started working at Chicago General Hospital. Victoria laughed. A nurse, how appropriate. You can practice changing bedpans here too. I smiled and said nothing, but I wasn't just nursing. I was watching, learning, planning. I watched how Victoria managed her money. I listened to her business calls. I learned about Harrison Construction, the clients, the contracts, the problems, and I discovered something interesting. Victoria was smart, but she was also old-fashioned. She didn't understand technology. She didn't see how the construction industry was changing. Green building, sustainable construction, environmental regulations. The future was coming, and Victoria was stuck in the past. I started taking business courses online. I learned about real estate, investment, company management, all while Victoria thought I was just a maid. In 2016, something unexpected happened. Daniel's grandfather, Victoria's father-in-law, passed away at 94. He was a man I had only met twice, old Mr. Harrison was kind to me, the only Harrison who ever was. "You have good eyes," he told me once. "Smart eyes, don't let them break you, girl." At the will reading, everyone expected everything to go to Victoria, but old Mr. Harrison had a surprise. He had left a separate trust fund, $2 million, and it was left to me. To Clara Bennett Harrison, the lawyer Reed, who showed kindness to an old man when his own family couldn't be bothered. This money is for her education and her future. Victoria's face turned purple. Melissa screamed, "This is fraud. She manipulated him." Daniel looked at me with suspicion, but the will was ironclad. Old Mr. Harrison had excellent lawyers. I had $2 million. And I had a plan. I didn't touch the money for daily expenses. I invested. I continued working as a nurse for 2 more years. Then I enrolled in medical school, paid in full. Simultaneously, I started a small business, a consulting company for healthcare facilities. I knew hospitals. I knew what they needed. I knew their problems. My company grew. By 2018, I had 15 employees. By 2019, I had 50, all while living in Victoria's mansion. All while she called me the maid. She had no idea. I kept my business separate, different name, quiet growth. Victoria saw me leaving for work every day. She assumed I was still cleaning bedpans, still changing diapers. "Clara," she would ask, "something like that, Mrs. Harrison," I would reply and smile. By 2020, my marriage to Daniel was dead. He had become a full version of his mother, cold, controlling, obsessed with the Harrison name. He didn't know about my business success. I kept it hidden. Why? Because I was waiting for the perfect moment. We lived in the same house but in different worlds. He slept in his room. I slept in mine. Victoria was thrilled. "See, I told you she was just entertainment." Now my son is finally seeing the truth. Little did she know, the truth was coming for all of them. In 2021, everything changed. Harrison Construction was in trouble. They had ignored environmental regulations for years, cut corners, bribed inspectors, used cheap materials. A building in Ohio collapsed. 3 people died. The lawsuits came fast. $50 million, $80 million, $100 million. Harrison Construction was bleeding money. Victoria tried to hide it, but I always knew. Their stock crashed, their contracts disappeared, their reputation was destroyed. By early 2022, Victoria was desperate. She needed a buyer for the company, someone to take over before complete bankruptcy. She called every major construction company in America. Nobody wanted the Harrison name. It was toxic. Then one day she received a call. "Mrs. Harrison, this is Bennett Healthcare Construction. We're interested in acquiring your company." Victoria was confused. "Bennett Healthcare Construction, I've never heard of you. We're a new player. We specialize in building hospitals and healthcare facilities. We've reviewed your assets and we're prepared to make an offer." Victoria was suspicious but desperate. "Fine, let's meet." A meeting was arranged. Victoria, Melissa, Daniel, and the Harrison lawyers sat in the conference room. They waited for the CEO of Bennett Healthcare Construction. The door opened and I walked in. The look on Victoria's face was worth 10 years of humiliation. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Clara, what is this joke?" "No joke, Mrs. Harrison." I sat down at the head of the table. "I am Clara Bennett, CEO and majority owner of Bennett Healthcare Construction. We've built 47 healthcare facilities across 12 states in the past 3 years. We're valued at $180 million. Melissa laughed nervously. This is impossible. You're a nurse, a maid. I was never a maid, Melissa. That was your fantasy. I was a woman with a plan. Daniel stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Clara, why didn't you tell me? Tell you what, Daniel? That while your mother was humiliating me, I was building an empire. That while you chose inheritance over your wife, I was becoming more successful than your entire family. I pulled out documents. Here's my offer. I will buy Harrison Construction for $15 million. That covers your debts and leaves you with almost nothing. You'll have enough to live, but not enough to matter. Victoria stood up, shaking with anger. This is robbery. The company is worth 10 times that was worth, Mrs. Harrison, before the lawsuits, before the deaths, before you destroyed your own legacy with greed and shortcuts. I leaned forward. You called me a maid, Victoria. You humiliated me for 10 years. You tried to destroy my marriage. You treated me like garbage. I smiled. Now I own your house, your company, your entire legacy, and you get to watch. Victoria collapsed back into her chair. For the first time in her life, she had nothing to say. I filed for divorce the next day. Daniel tried to negotiate. Clara, please, I was blind. Give me another chance. You had 10 years of chances, Daniel. You chose your mother's money over your wife's dignity every single time. The divorce was finalized in 3 months. Daniel got nothing from me. His mother's fortune gone to lawyers and lawsuits. The man who once worried about his inheritance now had less money than I did when I was a waitress. Karma is patient, but karma is certain. The mansion was sold to me. I didn't plan to live there. I turned it into a training center for underprivileged nurses and healthcare workers. The Clara Bennett Healthcare Academy. Free education for people like me, people who came from nothing but dreamed of everything. Victoria had to move. Her heart condition worsened. Melissa couldn't help. She had blown through her money on shopping and bad investments. Daniel was working as an office manager somewhere. Nobody would hire a Harrison for anything important. Victoria ended up in a small apartment. Then her health declined further. She needed care. Professional care. She couldn't afford a private nurse. And the irony, she applied for help through a charitable program. My charitable program, my staff called me. Miss Bennett, we have an application from a Victoria Harrison. She needs in-home care but can't afford it. Should we accept her? I was quiet for a long moment. 10 years of humiliation flashed through my mind. The dinner parties, the laughter, just a maid. I could reject her, let her suffer, let her experience what she made me feel. But then I remembered old Mr. Harrison's words. Don't let them break you, girl. If I became cruel like Victoria, she would have broken me after all. Accept her, I said. Give her the best care we can provide. Yes, Miss Bennett, I made one addition, and tell her it's from the maid. I visited Victoria once. She was 68 now, frail, sick, alone. Her apartment was small, nothing like the mansion. She looked at me with tired eyes. Why? She whispered. Why did you help me? After everything I did, I sat beside her. Because I'm not you, Victoria. I was never you. I came from nothing. You taught me that nothing I had was ever enough, but you were wrong. What I had, determination, patience, dignity, those things built an empire. I stood up. You called me a maid. You tried to break me, but you made me stronger. Every humiliation was fuel. Every insult was motivation. I walked to the door. So thank you, Victoria, for showing me exactly who I never wanted to become. I left. I never saw her again. She passed away 6 months later, alone. I paid for her funeral not because she deserved it, but because I could, and that made all the difference. Today, I am 44 years old. Bennett Healthcare is valued at $400 million. We've built 112 hospitals and healthcare centers. We've trained over 5,000 nurses and healthcare workers through my academy completely free. I remarried 3 years ago, a kind man named Thomas, a teacher. Just like Daniel once wanted to be, he loves me for who I am, not what I can give him. We have two beautiful children. They will never know poverty, but they will know humility. They will never be called maid, but they will know how to treat people who serve them. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that coffee shop, the waitress with the medical textbook, the girl who had nothing but dreams. Victoria Harrison called her a maid, but that maid, she built an empire not through cruelty, not through revenge, but through patience, dignity, and the quiet determination of someone who was told she was nothing and chose to become everything. If you're watching this and you feel like nobody believes in you, keep going. Your story isn't over. The people who mock you today might need your help tomorrow. And when that day comes, help them anyway, because that's what separates the Victorias from the Claras. That's what separates the bitter from the blessed. That's the real victory, not owning their house, but owning your soul. This is Clara Bennett. And that was my story. Thank you for listening.